Hi, my name is Jessica Bazinet, and I work on the educator preparation team here at DESE. Welcome to this introduction video for the Candidate Assessment of Performance. You're likely watching this video because you are a teacher candidate and you're about to embark on an exciting part of your teacher preparation, your practicum. This is a very exciting stage of your preparation experience. Your practicum, also known as student teaching or field-based experience, is an opportunity to work alongside a teacher in a real classroom and put into practice all of the things you've been learning in your program. Congratulations on making it so far in your journey. This video will provide you information about the Candidate Assessment of Performance, or what we call the CAP, which will be the structure through which you do your practicum. We will be using a few key terms throughout this presentation. Your EdPrep provider may use slightly different terms for some of these same ideas. The sponsoring organization is the Institute of Higher Education or Alternative Preparation Organization that provides approved educator preparation programs. This is you. A candidate is someone who's currently enrolled in an educator preparation program, also known as a student teacher. A supervising practitioner is an experienced pre-K through 12 educator who will be supervising you for your licensure practices during practicum. You may also hear this person referred to as a host teacher or a mentor teacher. Throughout your practicum, your supervising practitioner will be supporting you and you'll be spending time observing them, planning with them, getting feedback from them, and eventually taking full responsibility over their role with their guidance. During your practicum, there will be two people who will be guiding you during your practicum and supporting you through CAP. Your supervising practitioner, also known as your host teacher, and your program supervisor, which is the person from your organization who coordinates your student teaching. The program supervisor from your organization will also be supporting you. They are your immediate supervisor for licensure practices during a practicum. They'll visit your placement site to conduct observations and meet with you and your supervising practitioner about your progress. You'll learn more about the cadence of those visits as we talk about the CAP stages. If you have questions or concerns about your placement site or any experiences you're having in your placement, your program supervisor will be the person to support you. When we refer to all students, all represents each member of that group, inclusive of, but not limited to, all races, ethnicities, cultures, languages, socioeconomic statuses, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities, with particular focus on those who have been systemically marginalized or underserved, such as those who identify as Black, Hispanic and Latino, Asian, Indigenous, and/or multiracial. The Massachusetts Candidate Assessment of Performance, or the CAP, assesses candidates' readiness to teach at the end of their teacher preparation experience. CAP is a requirement in all approved teacher preparation programs in Massachusetts. In order for you to complete your program and be endorsed for an initial teaching license, you have to first complete and pass CAP. By requiring teacher candidates to demonstrate that they're ready to teach, Massachusetts ensures that new teachers enter classrooms prepared to meet the needs of all of their students, particularly those from systemically marginalized groups and communities. CAP also serves as a bridge between preparation programs and candidates' employment in schools. It is aligned to the same standards and expectations that you'll be evaluated on as a teacher, and it also has a similar goal-setting process and cycle for the continuous improvement that all teachers experience through the Massachusetts Educator Evaluation Framework. By making sure that you have the skills to teach and that you're comfortable with the educator evaluation system, CAP sets you up to be ready for day one on the job. The goals of CAP are to measure teacher candidates' practice on key essential elements as outlined in the Guidelines for the Professional Standards for Teachers, also known as the PSTs, to support teacher candidates in improving their practice through targeted feedback and performance evaluations, and to ensure new teachers enter classrooms prepared to well serve all of their students, particularly those from systematically marginalized groups and communities. What do you need to know about CAP? In total, there are 28 professional standards for teachers, which are pedagogical skills that DESE expects that you will have either been introduced to, practiced, or demonstrated during your educator preparation program. 7 of these have been pulled out as essential, which you will show proficiency in through CAP. We call these the essential elements, which are subject matter knowledge, adjustments to practice, high expectations and support, inclusive instruction, safe learning environment, collaboration on student learning and well-being, and reflective practice. You can learn more about the expectations for each of the essential elements from your program supervisor. CAP takes place throughout the duration of your final practicum. There are 5 stages in the CAP process. They are setting up for a successful process, evidence collection, formative assessment, continuing evidence collection, and summative assessment. Stage 1 is setting up for a successful process. This happens at the very beginning of your practicum. During this stage, you'll meet with your supervising practitioner, which is your host teacher, and your program supervisor, who is the person from your organization who coordinates your student teaching. In the first stage, you'll complete your CAP form, and you'll also complete a self-assessment of how you feel that you're currently able to meet the skills outlined by CAP. You will refer to your self-assessment throughout your CAP cycle to help guide your learning process and determine places where you've made improvements and places where you can target to improve your practice even more. You'll also set 2 goals. The first goal will be what's called your measure of student learning. Your supervising practitioner will help you decide on what the measurement should be for your student learning goal. You'll also develop a professional practice goal, which is a personal goal around a specific instructional skill or competency that you want to work toward and receive feedback on. Stage 2 of CAP is evidence collection. During CAP, your abilities will be assessed through 5 different types of evidence. The types of evidence in CAP are observations, measures of student learning, student feedback, your professional practice goal, and artifacts. The first type of evidence is observations. Your supervisors will conduct 4 observations during CAP, which usually last about 1 academic block but might vary. 2 of the observations will be announced observations, meaning you'll know that they're coming. Announced observations are conducted together by your supervising practitioner and your program supervisor. You'll have a meeting with your supervisors before each announced observation to talk about your plan and objectives for the lesson, and you'll connect with them afterwards to reflect on what they observed and share feedback. The other 2 CAP observations will be unannounced. Usually, just your supervising practitioner does these, and again, you'll have an opportunity to debrief with the observer afterwards to receive feedback about what you did well and where you can improve. Observations are just one way that you will demonstrate that you're ready to teach. Throughout CAP, your students' feedback, your students' progress on their measure of learning, your progress on your professional practice goal, and your candidate artifacts will also factor into that determination. The second type of evidence is student feedback. Receiving feedback from students is key to understanding your impact on students as a teacher. Asking for student feedback gives students opportunities to voice if something is not working for them, if there is a need that they have that is not being met, and suggestions for what to keep doing that is working well for them. One way to collect student feedback is through the DESE created student feedback surveys developed for grades 3 to 5 and 6 to 12, or discussion prompts developed for grades K to 2. You could also create your own discussion questions or surveys to get the feedback you need. The third type of evidence measures student learning. Measuring your students' learning in alignment with a learning goal will be an essential part of your role throughout your teaching career. Your supervising practitioner will help you to identify a student learning goal for something that you'll have direct responsibility over, measure whether students are making the progress you expected they would, and adjust your practice depending on how things are going. The fourth type of evidence is your professional practice goal. Just like you set a goal for your students' learning, you'll also set a goal for yourself in your professional practice. While the student learning goal will be measured by your students' progress on things like assessments, your professional practice goal will measure your own development as an educator. You'll use needs that have surfaced through your self-assessment to think about what your professional practice goal should be. Throughout CAP, you'll collect evidence related to that goal that demonstrates activities you've done related to the goal and progress you've made on attaining your goal. The fifth and last type of evidence is the candidate artifacts. You'll also be submitting artifacts of your own work in order to demonstrate your readiness. If there's an artifact, for example, a lesson plan that really incorporates one or more of the essential elements, meeting notes with other school staff to plan for an upcoming unit, or a written reflection about your teaching that you feel demonstrates that you are able to meet the expectations for the essential elements, please be sure to submit it to your program supervisor so that they can include it in your CAP file and use it for your assessment. Knowing this, you can be proactive about saving your lesson plans, meeting notes, and anything that could be an artifact that incorporates one or more of the essential elements. Stage 3 of CAP is the formative assessment, which takes place halfway through the performance assessment. This is a critical stage of the process where your supervisors collectively assess your progress to date on each of the essential elements. Your supervising practitioner and program supervisor will use a tool called the CAP rubric that describes the readiness levels for candidates. The readiness levels are unsatisfactory, needs improvement, proficient, and exemplary. During the formative assessment, your program supervisor and supervising practitioner look at the evidence collected to date, assess your progress on each element, and meet with you to talk about your performance so far. You will discuss where you're doing well and where you have specific areas to grow. This is also a time to receive actionable feedback that you can implement during the rest of your practicum. It's important to note that your supervisors will use the same scale as current working teachers to evaluate your practice. So as a teacher candidate, you should expect that you'll be in the needs improvement category in some areas, particularly during this formative stage. That is fine and expected. In fact, the CAP rubric is designed to acknowledge different levels of proficiency for novice teachers. Within each essential element, your supervising practitioner and program supervisor will assess practice across 3 dimensions: the quality, the scope, and the consistency of that practice. Quality is defined as the ability to perform the skill, action, or behavior. Scope is the scale of impact to which the skill, action, or behavior is demonstrated with quality. For example, one student, a subset of students, or all students. Consistency is the frequency that the skill, action, or behavior is demonstrated with quality. For example, once, sometimes, all the time. Knowing that you are a novice teacher, only quality needs to be assessed at proficient in order for you to be proficient on that essential element in CAP. Scope and consistency can be at needs improvement. During Stage 4 of CAP, you continue your practicum while implementing the feedback your program supervisor and supervising practitioner gave you during the formative assessment. You'll experience the remaining CAP observations, you will continue working towards your professional practice goal, and you will continue collecting evidence during this stage. Stage 5 of CAP is the summative assessment. This happens at the very end of your practicum and is the very last stage of CAP. During this stage, you'll meet with your supervising practitioner and program supervisor again, and they'll use the CAP rubric to determine if you're ready to teach. Because you're considered a novice teacher, only the quality of a given skill needs to be proficient for you to be considered ready to teach in that essential element. The scope and consistency with which you demonstrate that element can be needs improvement. A few things to keep in mind. CAP is an assessment tool, but it's also a learning tool. You are not expected to start CAP being a proficient teacher. You are expected to take the feedback that you get during CAP in order to become increasingly proficient throughout your practicum. If you have questions about CAP, please reach out to your program supervisor at your program or your supervising practitioner. They are there to support you and your growth through CAP. Thank you for all that you're already doing to become an amazing educator, and thank you for embracing your journey through the practicum and CAP process. Your hard work through your CAP journey will support the learning of all Massachusetts students. Best of luck to you on your teaching journey.